Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Arizona Cardinals franchise mode here in NHL 22. So this episode is a little bit pre-recorded. It's only a few hours after the last episode went up, but at the moment I do not have any comments for suggestions for trades. So it's a little bit weird that I'm recording this already, but I do have some ideas in mind in terms of trades that we could be making for this team, and that's why I'm going to pre-record this episode to an extent. Also, I think this team is mainly good as it is, so we don't need to make any huge subtle changes, or not subtle changes, but huge changes to this team. So I think the deal that I have in mind is probably the only one that would kind of make sense to an extent. So we will get into that and get into the actual trade deadline itself and see how we finish off the season in this episode. So anyways, let's get into that trade that I have in mind, which is a trade with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Because I was looking more at the block a little bit after I recorded last episode, and basically what I've seen actually with our roster, let me show you guys our lines for a second, is we still have kind of a little bit weak players in terms of our wingers. Our scoring has been pretty good and everything has been simulating pretty good so far. But like, say for example, like that fourth line has been a little bit bad in terms of plus minus, especially Schultz and McGillis. So I kind of want to get that fourth line to be a little bit better, which means we're going to probably be moving players down in the lineup once we make this trade. It's not like a huge trade, but it should help us get a little bit more scoring out of like our power play. Apparently the guy also should fit our penalty kill lines, so that also should help us out a little bit in terms of defensive play. So very excited to get into that trade. But yeah, our roster looks pretty good in terms of depth scoring for the most part, so I'd like to keep this team mainly as it is. Also, one thing before I actually get into that trade, I just want to let you guys know that this team is very internationally based, and it's very multicultural. It's got 11 different countries represented in it, which is kind of crazy. You got guys from like Switzerland, like Agostino, you got some Belarusians, you got some Canadians, some Americans, Swedes, Finns, Russians. You got tons of good players from different teams in different leagues, so it's kind of intriguing to see what this team does in the playoffs once we get there. I guess more than likely we're going to be a playoff team at this point. But anyways, let's get into this trade because I've been talking about a lot of random other stuff. But I think this trade should help us out in terms of our scoring a little bit. So I was looking at terms of players that are on the block, and in Pittsburgh they do have Jordan Dumais. Now this guy does have a lot of points and his value has gone up because of that. So we are going to have to give up a little bit more than I would normally give up for somebody like this guy. He's 81 and 26, only making 840K for 1 year. But yeah, this guy is off to a pretty good start this year. As you can see, 16 goals, 30 assists for 46 points. 16 of those points have been on the power play, which means he's had 30 points playing on the third line, which is kind of nuts, unless he got changed throughout the lineup. And he's also on the, the second line power play. So he's getting not that much ice time, and he's producing really well. For like 13 minutes and having that much amount of points is pretty good. So we're going to probably try and trade for this guy to get for our third line. And then I'll probably end up moving Gallagher down to the fourth line. And more than likely he would probably put Anisimov on like waivers or something like that, because Anisimov is currently scratched. It's just to give our team a little bit more strength in terms of our wingers, and yeah, hopefully this guy can continue doing what he was doing in Pittsburgh with us, considering he's on the block. So basically they wanted for him, I believe, yeah, they wanted a lot of random trades. Some of them involve top prospects, like this first one I'm not a huge fan of. But for example, this third one I'm okay with, I think, because we give up a second round pick in a draft class that for some reason I feel like it's going to be a weak draft class, and the player that we're going to be drafting in the first round probably anyways is supposed to go in the second round, so we might just get him with our first round pick anyways. So there's that. And then Popovic I don't think is going to really pan out, because Popovic was a former third rounder. He's only a 73 at 21, and I'm not really sold on like top 6 forwards that go past the first round. So I think I'm okay with moving Austin Popovic, even though he could be in the AHL as early as next season. So I think that deal does make sense for our team to do, and it gives us a little bit more strength in terms of our wingers, and gives us a little bit more like scoring options, and maybe more depth to this team as well going into the playoffs, which definitely we need if we want to win a Stanley Cup and whatnot. So I think I'm going to do this trade, basically a second round pick and Popovic straight up for Dumais, and hopefully he can continue doing what he was doing at Pittsburgh and bring some offense to our team. If his trade value was down low, that would be nice, but his value's gone up because he's been putting up points, and might as well give him an opportunity to play for a team that's probably going to make the playoffs. The Pittsburgh Penguins are actually going to make the playoffs, so I don't know why they're trying to get rid of him. It kind of makes no sense. They have a really good record this season, but they want to get rid of him for some reason. So, yeah, we're going to do this deal. So, Dumais for a second and Popovic. Best of luck in Pittsburgh, Popovic. And we are not going to be moving down Redmond. We are going to be moving down Anisimov on waivers because Redmond's been pretty good as an offensive player on that fourth line. So, yeah, basically we're just going to send down Anisimov and hope he doesn't get claimed. We are going to call up Dumais, who got sent down to the minors right away, which is kind of weird. I don't know why he did that. And, yeah, we're going to send down Anisimov. For some reason, Dumais dropped down to a 79, which is a little bit weird. I don't know if it's because of morale or what. But he should help out our team, I think, in terms of the bottom six. So I'm going to move Gallagher over to the left side on the fourth line because he can play the left wing. And we are going to be taking out Emil Schulz out of our lineup just because I don't really know if I trust Emil Schulz fully. So we're going to take him out and throw in Dumais. It's kind of weird that he dropped down to a 79. And apparently he's not a huge, great fit for third line. He's a better fit on the top six. I might move Shishkinov down to the third line and try that out. Yeah, I think I'm going to try that out. And move Shelley to the left side, I think, just for fun as well. Try that out. It might be a little bit risky because Shishkinov's been good. But I do want to change this team up a little bit in terms of a roster because I feel like if we don't, we're going to be a first-round exit. So, and then defense, I think, is going to stay the same for now. We probably won't make any more trades. We'll take a look at the trade deadline. But I don't think this team's going to make any more changes because I think we should be a pretty good team regardless. So let's advance today and get into the actual trade deadline itself and go in as a buyer. And then we'll simulate the rest of the season. I almost went continue simulating accidentally. But I don't think we're going to make any more trades because guys like Barkov, for example, would be a good option. But he does not fit our coach's systems, so it doesn't really make sense. Cirelli also has like a high asking price in Tampa Bay, and he's 33 already, so I don't think he's worth it. So like a lot of these guys are just, yeah, players that we don't really need. Like if we get thrown an offer, maybe we'll make a trade, but I honestly don't think this team really needs to make much of a trade. Because if we look through our player stats through so far throughout the season, which I showed you guys at the end of last episode, you can see our depth scoring has been pretty good for the most part, and Michkov has been scoring a lot of goals as well, so I don't think it really matters if we make much more trades. Kyle Connor just got dealt to the Islanders, I think, so the Islanders are bulking up apparently. And then, yeah, our defensive core has been pretty good for the most part. I might have to split up the Sasaki-Tukkonen pairing at some point because the plus-minus hasn't been great there. We could always pick up a better depth defenseman and send to Lindell, but I think I'm okay with that. So Lindell, he hasn't played yet, but I think I'm okay with that. As another trade has broke through, the Rangers trade a first and Gibbons for Velarde, so the Jets are offloading some players early on. And yeah, goalie-wise, it's kind of up in the air if we ever want to trade away Stefan Pettersson because we do have a goalie in the minors that could come up. So for right now, I don't think we need to trade away our goalies. But I think our team just really doesn't need to make much changes because we're pretty much good in everything. If we look at like our team stats, we're scoring goals, we're playing good defensive hockey. So it's like I don't really know if there's any point to it because we are one of the best offensive teams in the league. You go to goals against per game, we are one of the best defensive teams. Our power play is also up there at 21.9%. And then our penalty kill is also up there at 84.4%. So it's like I don't really think we need to make much changes to this team. So yeah, I think it's going to be okay if we don't make any trades. Yeah, I think I'm not going to make any trades other than that one we just made, which might have been an overpayment, but gives us a little bit more depth in terms of our like wingers because we don't have a lot of good wingers on this team. Like our left wing side and our right wing side is a little bit weak, except for like Michkov, obviously. So, yeah, I think we're not gonna make any trades because we're not getting thrown any offers, and we're already a couple hours into the trade deadline, or an hour into the trade deadline, I think. I don't want to go right till the 12 p.m. deadline. I just think it's pointless, though, for us to make more. Because, like, the asking prices on a lot of these guys are probably going to be through the roof, so it's kind of pointless. That's just the top 10 players. Let's just go to available, see if there's anything else down here. Jack Hughes is on the block, which is interesting, but 9.84 for 7 years is like a little bit pricey. What else we got here? Jordan Kyrou. He wouldn't be bad as a winger, but we already just brought in a winger. Sanchez in another trade. I hate that it goes back to the beginning of the list when trades happen. Who is that Sanchez dude, out of curiosity? Right winger making only 1.5. A low elite, that's 82 at 25. That's interesting. What would it take to get somebody like Angelo Sanchez? A third and a fourth? Wow, that seems like a given almost. What type of player is Sanchez? A fourth liner, kind of. He would fit our second line, but not really much else. I don't really know what I would give. Like, I would probably want to take out our picks in this, or a third at least in this, and get rid of some player on the roster in order to do this. But I think there's not really anybody I would give up. Like, I could always upgrade for McGillis, but I really don't think that's needed. Yeah, even though this is a really intriguing offer, I don't really think I need this guy. He's a really good defensive forward. Don't get me wrong. He'd be a really good bottom six option. But I don't know if he actually fits our bottom six. So I'm not going to make any more trades, I think, at this deadline. But there were some interesting offers. And Rapid got traded. So Jack Hughes goes back to New Jersey, I think, in that trade. Yeah, I think Jack Hughes just got traded to New Jersey again, which is interesting. And I think Caden Rabbit, who was our former defensive prospect that we traded away, might have got dealt as well. So, yeah, we're not going to make any trades. Let's take a look at the trades, though, that did happen at the deadline, and then we will simulate the rest of the season. So, yeah, there's the Kyle Connor trade to the Islanders. That was the big one at the deadline, apparently. Let's take a look at the trades. So, what do we got here? Anything interesting? It's a lot of EA-generated players at this stage, but did not Quinn Hughes, Jack Hughes get traded again? Because I saw it say Jay Hughes, but I'm not sure if it was Jack or not. Mark Scheifele got traded. Wow, Winnipeg just offloaded a lot of good players. So Sorelli got traded to Colorado, and yep, Jack Hughes gets traded back to New Jersey. He's making a 7-year deal as well, which is crazy. It's kind of funny to see him go back to the team he started with, though. And yeah, Caden Rabbit, which I believe was our prospect that we gave up in the Sharon Govich deal. He had dealt to Tampa Bay. Interesting. So if we would have kept Rabbit, we could have probably acquired Hughes in a trade if we really wanted to. But Sharon Govich has been okay, so I'm not mad about that, to be honest. But still, Caden Rabbit getting dealt multiple times, probably because he won't pan out. But yeah, those were the trades. Let's simulate the rest of the season now, because I don't think there's really anything else I want to do for this team. Hopefully we could do pretty good, and hopefully Dumais could play pretty solid. Is he actually on our second line power play yet, or no? Because I want to make sure he's on our special teams as well. Let's go to our special teams. He's not. I think I am going to take... How good has Gallagher been? Only like 5 power play points? Yeah. Riley hasn't put up any points since being put on the power play, so I am going to take him off. And we are going to give Dumais some power play time, just because he's a good power play player, apparently. And we will also give him some penalty kill time, I think. Is he a better fit than McGillis, out of curiosity? He is, apparently. But it really doesn't change it that much. I don't want to take McGillis off the penalty kill because I feel like he's going to complain if I do that. So, yeah, we're going to keep McGillis on the penalty kill for now. But, yeah, that's basically the changes to our roster for the rest of the season, and hopefully that helps us propel into the right direction. So let's simulate the rest of the season and see how Michkov's insane season finishes, because he's been lighting it up so far. We only got 19 games left this year. I wonder if he's going to hit 60 goals or not. So let's go up to the 23rd. Might as well do a couple weeks at a time. We lose 3-2, then we win 5-4, 6-1. So good offensive numbers. Good to see that. As Gustav Forsling's on waivers, but $5.5 million as a depth defenseman. No, thank you. I already got my depth defenseman in Esa Lindell. We lose 3-2 to Chicago. That's not great. But, yeah, we're still being a little bit inconsistent, but I think I'm okay with that. Because if we end up winning our division, then we're not going to be a good Stanley Cup contending team, I don't think. Let's go to the 30th, get another week done. As Ariel Ortmeyer's been injured in the AHL. That's not good, because he's one of the best AHL defenders down there. But yeah, the team seems to be playing pretty good right now. We do still got quite a bit of games. Let's go another week. A very busy week ahead in terms of games. It looks like 5 games that week. Just kind of crazy. And Isamov is actually cleared waivers, so that's actually good. I should actually get him some ice time down there in the minors, but I don't really know who I would take out. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. I might end up calling him up for the playoffs. As Michkov's up to a 97 apparently. Just because of stat growth and stuff. Bykov's injured in the AHL. Let's go replace player. And Dallas has fired their head coach. What a surprise. And we're now 45, 25, and 7. Did we clinch a playoff spot, did I see? Yes, we did. Perfect. That's good to see. Michkov is up to 62 goals in 77 games. Wow. That's his career best. Wow. So I think we have a guy that's going to win the Maurice Richard, and I'm really glad I signed him to an 8-year deal because this guy is unreal, and he's going to get to play in the playoffs for the first time in his career, which is really awesome because hopefully he could bring this team to that cup final eventually. Who was it that was injured in the AHL again? Bykov was in, I think it was Semenov that was a depth forward. I don't want to put Nisimov in. We want to put Bykov back in. There we go. There's another win. Game against Dallas, another win. Yeah, this team is really good. And we finished 49, 25, and 8, so not too bad. We finished second place in our division, only behind the Chicago Blackhawks. Not too bad of a season. One of the best teams in the league as well. And yeah, Michkov finished with 64 goals on the season in 102 points. I really love him. Really glad we brought him in. He's definitely going to help out this team's offense, I think. Okay, let's take a look at the team stats first before we take a look at our player stats. So in terms of the entire league, we finished the 6th best, only behind Columbus, Pittsburgh, the Rangers, the Blackhawks, and the Buffalo Sabres, who won the President's Trophy. Goals for per game, we were the 5th best offensive team, only behind Buffalo, Chicago, Pittsburgh, and Columbus. Goals against per game wise, we were the 2nd best defensive team behind the New York Rangers, which is pretty impressive. You'll love to see that. So our defense might have improved actually since acquiring Dumais. Power play percentage also was top 3. Wow. Okay, since bringing in Dumais as well, I think that helped out our power play because I believe our power play was only like 21% before this. I could be wrong. And our penalty kill also improved, and we had the best penalty kill in the league, so we were really good in terms of everything. It's just all about if we could put this together in the playoffs or not. We only had one shorthanded goal, which is a little bit weird, but very good home record, very good road record. 8-0-2 in our last 10 is kind of scary because I feel like we're just going to get swept because of that, but you never know. So we had a very good season. Let's take a look at our player stats for this year. So starting off with our centerman, Quinton Byfield, 60 points in 82 games is pretty solid. We definitely have to re-sign him, I think, in the offseason. He's only 28, and he definitely returned to form, having his best season of his career so far. Not too bad. Connor Geekie, 58 points, not too bad. He did get first-line power play time over Byfield and Sharon Govich, so that's why his points are so good, I think. Sharon Govich, 51 points, not too bad. He did miss some time due to injury, but pretty good center depth scoring, it seems like. And then Sopolyov only played 7 games, but had 5 points, so not too bad. Agostino had a career best 93 points, but that's what happens when you put him next to a very good sniper like Michkov, so kind of makes sense. He has jumped up to a 92, which is also really awesome. But yeah, I really like Agostino. He almost deserves to be the captain probably of this team, if he's not already. Shishkinov, 47 points, not too bad. So we moved him down to the 3rd line, but he still produced pretty decently down the stretch. Yeah, I like that. 20 goals, 27 assists, not too bad. His contract also comes to an end, so we're going to have to give him a decent amount of money. LaRose, 38 points is not too bad, considering he played 3rd line time and no power play time. McGillis, 21 points, not terrible since he was a 4th liner. And Schultz, 13 points in 42 games before he got scratched. Right wing wise, Michkov was insane, as I mentioned. 102 points, 64 goals, 38 assists. Insane season, and we have him signed for 7 more years after this, so very excited to see what he could do in the playoffs and all that type of thing. Shelley, 64 points, and he managed to hit 41 goals, so he had a really good down the stretch season, it seemed like. Yeah, I think he started to score a lot more down the stretch. Because he had 25 goals, I believe, in 60-something games. So that means, like, in the last 20 games, he's put up, like, 15 goals or something. But he has returned back to his 40-goal self, which is really good to see. So we definitely need to keep Quinton Byfield, I think, and whoever else is playing on the second line, which is Shishkinov, I think, or was Shishkinov before we brought in Dumais. So there you go on that front. Yeah, really excited that Shelly's returning to form a bit, because now that contract might not look so bad if he puts up numbers like that for the rest of his career. And Dumais, 62 points in 80 games. How much with us, though? 16 points in 19 games, so very good pickup for us. Really like that. Didn't really put up a lot of goals, but it did help out Shelly, it seems like, as well, though, with 11 assists. So, yeah, maybe he's just the perfect teammate to have with him. It sucks that he's only an 80, but, I mean, he's not a bad player overall-wise, and he's a good fit for the second line. Gallagher, 37 points, not too bad. Redmond, 24 points, playing fourth line time. Really like that. So our depth scoring was really good. Defensively, Chychrun, 62 points in potentially his last year here. That's pretty solid as well. Dobson, 25 points, plus 25. I like that. Tukinen was a plus 13. So it looks like our second pairing of Tukinen and Sasaki picked it up a lot defensively. 15 points from Sasaki, plus 8. Riley, 13 points and a plus 18. And Guerrero, a plus 24 in his first season. Not too bad. Did Lindell play any games with us? No, he has yet to play a game with us, because we did not suffer any injuries to our defensive core. But pretty good numbers from our defense. And then goalie-wise, our goalies were pretty good too. Pedersen had his best season yet, a .919 save percentage, a 35-28 record, 3 shutouts, and a 2.52. That's pretty good. And then Hunter Jones was a really good backup with a .913 and a 2.56. Not too bad overall-wise. Let me take a quick look at the AHL before we take a look at the entire league. So, Rodov was really good in his first season. Same with McIntyre. Love to see that. Are those guys getting a lot of growth? Not really, but hopefully they do soon. What about defensively? DeMaio had a good season. Good to see that. And Hornquist was insane. Still had only 10 shutouts, but .913 save percentage. In a 2.33, almost 50 wins on the year for Hornquist. He definitely needs to be in the NHL as soon as possible, which means I don't really know what the future is for our goaltending tandem. Do we keep Jones? Do we get rid of Pedersen? There's always all those options. Let's take a look at the entire league for points and all that stuff. So in terms of forwards, the best offensive player was Sebastian Aho with 106 points, just beating out Michkov, McKinnon, and DeBrincat. Most goals this year, obviously, was Matvei Michkov by a large margin, by almost 15 goals. But then again, this Bonk guy was injured, but still, that is a very large margin for Michkov. Definitely won that. Other fun stats, let's take a look at most game-winning goals. Why not? Matvei Michkov had 13 game-winning goals. Most power play points was Michkov as well. Most shorthanded points, JT Miller. Most hits this season, Harrison Cohane in Chicago. Best block shots, Arthur Kaliyev for a forward. Takeaways, Brandon Yeager. Interesting. Most fights this season for fun, Moses in Winnipeg. Interesting. Olchuk up there for the Islanders. So that is forward stats. Defensively, the best defenseman for points this year was Elias Salamonson, who was a free agent, 70 points. Quinn Hughes also up there. Jacob Chychrun was third in points. That's not too bad. He actually had the best plus-minus out of the defenders up there, so that's interesting. So he was the best defenseman. Looks like best goalie this year, Johan Schustrom, insane in Chicago. 46 wins this year. The most shutouts, though, was Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen with 7. Best save percentage by a starter was Schustrom with a .921. Pedersen right behind him. Interesting, but didn't have the same amount of wins and all that. So, yeah, it's definitely probably going to be Schustrom that wins the Vezina. Or Nedeljkovic, maybe. Or Luukkonen. Luukkonen actually had a really good season, too. Best rookie this year for points was Harrison Cohane in Chicago. And then also Andrew Vesey's up there. But a 70-point rookie season, that's pretty good for that guy. So, there is the points in the season wrap-up. Now that that is done, we got to see who we're going up against in round 1 of the playoffs. And hopefully we do not drop the ball in the playoffs. Hopefully Michkov does really good in the playoffs like he did in the regular season. We're going to be taking on the Colorado Avalanche, of course. They went 46, 26, and 10. So they had a pretty solid record as well. Let's take a look at how they did during the regular season, because I don't really know the comparison. in terms of short-handed goals and stuff. So we finished only 4 points above them, which is a little bit scary. We only scored a little bit more goals than them. We were way better defensively than them, though. And our power play was better, and our penalty kill was much better. So we're a better defensive team, but that's pretty much it in terms of most of the stats. It's kind of scary because I really don't know if we're going to be able to win them against them. It really depends on what their roster looks like, I guess. So let's take a look and see what they got. See if there's anything that could go up against somebody like Michkov. Probably not, unless McKinnon's still playing, which I think he is, yeah. Yep, okay, so they still have a really good top line. Lucas Raymond, Nathan McKinnon, and Nico Rantanen. So we definitely got to watch out for that top line. It's probably better than ours to an extent. Maybe not, actually. Because technically Agostino's better than Raymond. Michkov is better than Rantanen. So just basically at center, they're better than they are than us. Second line, they have Justin Almeida. They also have Alex Newhook and Robbins. So that second line, the wingers are a little bit weak, but the center depth on this team is nasty. Okay. They have Jesper Boquist, Anthony Cirelli, and Wade Allison. And a fourth line of Uriel Gallant, Dylan Gambrell, and Samuel Poulin. Damn. Yeah, that center depth is really insane. And their wingers are good supporting cast, so I could see why this Colorado team was good offensively. Defensively, I could see why they weren't as good, but they're still pretty solid. Byram and Makar, Barron and Ference, and Glebov and Keane. Yeah, that's a pretty solid defensive core still. How about goalie-wise? They have Pascal Lacroix, who I might have seen win a Vezina at some point. I don't remember. Maybe not. But he's a solid goalie. He had a rough year this year, though. Like, he had a good winning record, but his .897 save percentage is not really that good. But knowing our luck, he will just randomly turn it on in the playoffs. And they also have Zigomanis as their backup. Depth-wise, they have Nick Ritchie. They also have Nicholas Camano and Zach Benson. So overall-wise, I think this should be a pretty tough series, but hopefully we could just get Michkov to keep scoring, and maybe we'll be in the driver's seat. Also, hopefully Shelley steps up this year in the playoffs, considering the last few years he's really struggled. So if he could do what he did in the regular season where he had 41 goals, then we could be in business, hopefully, I would assume. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Arizona Coyotes franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll take it to round 1 against Colorado as we look to get ourselves back to the second round and just keep on building on from there, because this team needs to win a cup sooner or later. So let me guys think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.